Hey there, Shop Maniacs. You're listening to another episode of Shop Talk Show, podcast about websites and things. I'm Dave Rupert, and with me is Chris Coyer. Hey, Chris, how are you doing today?
You know it.
We have
I'm
to
doing
deliver
great.
value in the first 30 seconds. Wow!
Wow.
Check out this cool website on my hand. Yeah, it's Matthias Ott's bonkers website. There you go. So.
Oh, nice. I was watching because there's like a minute I'm still into it a little bit, watching like some Balatro videos on YouTube, I find them relaxing. I get like a similar enjoyment of just watching than I do playing. That's always been true for me. Hence the not being surprised that Twitch is as big as it is. I think it confuses the olds sometimes. They're like, wait, you watch people play video games? And you're like, I know, it's weird, but it's true.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And some of these people, I think it's not that Balatro has a limited shelf life, but it's like, sure, it's popular, but is it going to stay wildly popular just forever? Probably not, right? So these streamers that do really well with this game, I think they have to like look at their future. And I see some of that starting to happen, like what am I going to do next? Do I have to find another one? Or And if a streamer just does random games, I think that's probably hurts them a little bit, don't you think? Like if our show was just about Dave and Chris's show about absolutely anything whatsoever is a little harder of an audience to hit.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we are that. Is what I'm thinking. Are you proposing a pivot? You want to go all in on AI? We could do that, sure.
No.
I think it is. Like generalness kind of doesn't help you in that game, I guess, in the content game, kind of like.
Probably not.
I've been
Unless your personality is just so cool and funny and amazing that you really can just play anything. I'm sure there's you'd know better than I do, but I'm sure there's plenty of streamers like that people watch for the streamer and not the game. But I have a suspicion that people prefer to match the game to what they want to watch. I think it takes a huge personality to break out of the one game, right? Like. Right.
I think about there's this guy Jinxie. He's weird. Maybe not safe for work. No, but he's a Rainbow Six Siege streamer, which is a weird one. But it's like kind of a game that receives very few updates over the years, but it is like still going, has a community. But he's like pro in that game. But I think his big weird personality where he spits on the monitor if anyone says anything rude to him or whatever, that
makes it work.
He can do other things, like going through his text messages. I watched a video of him reviewing his Hinge dates. It's kind of funny. Okay, fine. He talks to I think it's literally Copilot. And he calls him Bernard, and like he asked Bernard for help on rizzing up girls, on Hinge, and it's it's comedy. I think like you have to have a lot of personality to go out that far, to go out of a wheelhouse. And
this is further than I was thinking. I was just thinking, I'm watching some of these because Balatro is a rogue-like, which I'm like proud of myself for even knowing what that means, because I'm such a non-gamer. But it means like, I don't know, you like need to, it refers to card games a lot because you improve your deck, but it seems like it's changed in spirit to be like anything where you like buy stuff or like improve your situation. Like, I don't know. So here's an example. There's this new one out, which has got this Discord was talking about. There's some new stream like hardware device to play your stream games on your living room TV.
I didn't think I see it, but sure. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Why not? Right.
Yeah.
Stream on the big TV instead of your computer. Seems cool. Well, Stream has this game. I didn't even look if it's for multiple platforms. It's just where it sent me immediately, called a Ball X Pit or something.
Okay.
That's a roguelike. It's like infinite guys coming at you down a hallway thing, but not like the I don't know, the iPhone commercial kind. It's like, it's pixely, the art looks really cool, and you're this little guy at the bottom who's wandering around almost like you're in a caterpillar type of game thing, but you shoot balls up at them. You just shoot balls up at them, and they bounce around and they hurt the bad guys coming at you. But they can be fireballs and ice balls and ghost balls, and then you level up your energy and you level up the balls themselves, and you combine the balls into different balls and all this. And I think that's what makes it a roguelike, is that you have to like make decisions about the gear and crap and how to level up to make future levels of guys coming at you from the thing.
Right.
Good, right.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. Like the things you earn in your one life carry over to the next life. It's not like a full reset like a Mario. Like you're like back to school.
Yeah.
So.
And in a sense, there's shopping. I don't know how. Anyway, the art is awesome, and it has like a loading screen with a star field on it, and this comes up in the game too. So you imagine just a black background with like lightly pastel colored stars all over it, and then it has animation, and the stars rotate around the center of the screen, but like the speed at which they rotate kind of like depends on how far away they are from the center of the screen. And then there's like a ring kind of in the middle where they move like the slowest. And to me, it has this like very transfixing aesthetic in this game. So all that streaming stuff comes down to this moment where I'm like, oh, that's such a cool look. I want to do it. So I streamed me trying to redo that look, and it's yeah, and I was like half proud of myself and half annoyed with myself, which I think is the theme of my week this week. It's like, geez, can I do anything right? But I'm trying over here.
I am. The things I do are valid.
Yes. Yeah.
No.
So anyway, stars that rotate around a center was actually fun to do, and you can get really far in just CSS because, I was in Safari Technical Preview so that I could use random, but man, I think random's gonna pop off once people get it. I think having edited a lot of Anna Tudor articles over the year, when she gets random, and I think she doesn't have random because once in a while she's like, can you check Safari for something? I think she's on Linux or something.
Okay.
And you just like don't have Safari. I think even if she had a like technical preview, she'd be using it probably.
Yeah.
But it's only in Safari, so one other browser needs to get it, and it's just amazing.
It's funny. I think people are probably like, "What's the big deal?" Like, you probably shouldn't like do random styles, and I sort of agree with that from like a design standpoint. But you add a little bit of randomness, like little navigation blocks that randomly align. Like that's kind of cool. That's fun. That's fun is what I want to say,
yeah, it's fun. It's mostly fun stuff, but there's a lot of stuff that doesn't hurt accessibility or anything at all. It's just an aesthetic. It's just a texture is what you're trying to shoot for, and random just makes it easier to pull off. And yeah, it's mostly just fun, but it's great fun. And the API is so cool. I think we've talked about a little bit on the show, but here's one of my favorite like little touches in the API that I think is so smart. I can say random, 1,10 or whatever, and I'll just get a unitless number between 1 and 10, which I think is nice. And then I can call random 1 and 10 again on a different property, and I'll get a different number that's 1 through 10. But if inside the function, but before the 1 and 10, I'd just go like --Dave, custom ident, it's going to like lock in what random number it gets. So the second time I call it, it's going to get the same random number later, but only on a per element basis. So if there's like, if it matches 10 elements on the page, it'll be the same on one element, and then the next element will be new random numbers, but they'll be the same within it. It's like locking in the seed or something, for lack of a better word. Yeah. And I just think that's so clever because it turned out in my little star field example to be very useful, because I would make the height of the element, a random number, and I would do it with unitless value and then lock it into a seed. And then to get an actual height, I would just multiply it by like 1 dvh or something. That way I'm turning my unitless number into a united number I could use for height. But that really mattered because I wanted to, like, for example, color the stars based on how far away from the middle they are. And now I can use like OKLCH with my height value.
Oh, because it's height just then gets random or whatever. Yeah,
height is random, but I generated it using a unitless value. So so now I can just use that unitless value as a percentage in OKLCH or something. And I wanted it to affect how fast the star moved, how far it was from the beginning. So I could use it in animation duration. I can use that height value as a multiplier for that to figure out how fast it's moving. So it's just really clever how that works.
No, that's fun. Yeah. I think there's all kinds of stuff to do. You know, you could almost like come up with like a weight system, like where, you know, heavy things move slower or whatever, you know, or like, I don't know.
Right.
Like big things, you know, you could just say
like the radius of a circle has to do with its animation duration also. You're tying those two things together is such a that's so cool to me.
Neat. Yeah. No, that's fun. You know what I was thinking about?
I also wanted to deliver some value. You deliver some value now. Let's go, Dave.
Well, you know what I was thinking about the other day? Like charts and graphs, right? Like,
charts and graphs.
Have you made a chart and graph in the last 2 months, 3 months, right?
Have I? Are you asking me?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Do you remember the last time you did one?
I think so, yeah.
Go find that library you heard about. Of course you start at D3 and you're like, fuck this, it's way too complicated.
It's a little low level, and I think they even say that. Yeah.
They're not trying to get old Dave Rupert on the D3. But so you start like going into a charting library, and then you like, you know, you want to make this chart, and then they're like, hey, can you make this chart? And you're like, I can't make that chart, you know?
Yeah.
And then like for the longest time I've been like, man, I would love like a web component charting library, just something like bar dash chart, you know, like wouldn't that be cool? And then you just pass out an array of data or whatever, or a table. You could the best thing would be a friggin' table inside, and it inhales the table as the data and then spits it, you know.
Oh my gosh, that's genius. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be cool? Well, it got me, you know, and then I think about writing it, right? So I go, okay, like now I'm writing it in my head, you know, brain vibing. And I get to the point where it's like, you know, it just made me realize, like, wouldn't it be easier if charts and graphs always started at the top, like XY coordinate of like an SVG or a div, you know, like, because then you're only setting the height on like a bar chart, you know, whereas like, you know, before you have to like, okay, no, actually go down like to the bottom, and then we find out the max height and the, you know, like, I just feel like we could like have this
more natural to start, because like if you were to type, you know, this little piggy in a p tag in a div, it always starts at the upper left.
Yeah,
right.
So like,
I see. And divs naturally push downwards, not upwards.
Down. Right, instead of up. Right.
So it's only it just so happens to be that culturally we expect our bar charts to go up. But Dave, if you could change the world, you'd be like, I think culturally we should have bar charts that go down.
If we have bar charts that go down, it gets a lot easier. Is what I'm trying to say.
Wow.
Oh, no. Like even XY charts, like you're not subtracting from the height or whatever. Height's hard to measure in a div, you know, or like you can't do it without reflow or whatever. So I was just like, man, but now I've like gotten through that process of like, that's probably not going to happen. I'm not going to change the world here. But I sort of wonder if like maybe you can draw it like it's at the top, but then flex or like align bottom or something, like align to the bottom. I wonder if
that's true. Is that what people out there are thinking? They're just like, Dave, you just go like, you know, align, you know,
there's not that hard, Dave. If it's not hard, make a fucking web component for me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's true, but a bunch of divs that you bottom align aren't too bad. But yeah, that's true. I got you.
But I'm just kind of like, wouldn't it be cool to just have this really
I
almost
think
primitive but
HTML
styleable? That's
table as data is a really neat idea. I think it's, of course, my mind immediately goes to like, oh, there's so many like edge cases with tables and how you can combine table cells and stuff. Like, how are you gonna do that? It's not a normalized format like
Go
JSON
make your
is.
own thing. Go make your
It
own
just
thing.
bails out. It's just
two-dimensional table, buddy. We're not doing anything else. We're just if you got like whatever you're trying to rebuild Wikipedia in here, it doesn't work, But like,
I like there's an X coordinate, a Y coordinate. It takes it takes the table, where the labels and stuff from the headers and the
the headers would be the labels. So I think that's your X-axis because it goes in the X-axis, and your Y-axis is your values, and then then those values like go up and down. I guess you really only, but you like have to have like multiple columns. I guess, but yeah, like you could do multiple columns and then anyway.
How do you remember? That would be useful. We had a show the other week where it was the seed to this like progressive enhancement challenge we had. Remember you busted out Gina Trappini's little 4-column thing, and we were trying to figure it out. And the hardest one is like content that you want to be visible only if JavaScript fails, essentially.
Yeah.
Which was tricky to do. I actually did see that Scott Gell, I don't think he listened to the show, it was kind of just serendipity, did blog like a little idea about it, because in this scenario you don't have JavaScript to like unhide something if it failed, because JavaScript itself is failing. But what he did was he did like a CSS keyframe reveal. So it's like this element was invisible until but if the keyframe finished, it would just become visible. So it's kind of a little temporary hiding of the element. And then in your JavaScript, you would just like remove the class that applied the animation. So it would never show, because that would be the goal. So it was clever, and we didn't come up with it during the episode. So I'd like to follow up with that. But it reminds me of your situation, Dave, because I don't want to see the table if the chart is going to load.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
But can you do that with web components with that like :loaded thing?
Yeah, you could do web component not defined, and then, you could maybe do like on error, like this dot show or something, or you could do something like that.
It's actually, I think web components are more useful than regular HTML elements, because they have these like extra states that you get for free in CSS.
Yeah, you could do not defined, and then, but you'd still need like some CSS to to bail, to like Scott's trick. I actually think I like it. It's called "This CSS will self-destruct," but like just kind of like hide it until something else happens, So like,
I think you probably would need Scott's thing.
Angle bracket star, and I'd be like, opacity 0 or whatever. So, or pre-fade. I could just add the class to pre-fade, So, it's not a bad idea, but
nope, kind of cool. And then if their web component goes out to your RSS feed, people are just going to get a table. Mm-hmm. So rock and roll, you could have a little button in the table or an anchor link that says like, go view this, this is being shown as table data, but if you go view it on Dave's site, it'll look like a chart.
Yeah.
Click here.
Think, wouldn't that be cool? That would be a great way to, like extensible data structures, blah, 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 So, anyway, I just kind of was riffing on that. I was just like, man, that would be a, web components for charts. But the other part where charts fall down, and everyone knows this and no one's fixed it, is like themability. Like they all just like die, dude. And then they all need tooltips, and then they all have to do custom tooltips. Guess what we have in CSS now? Popovers and tooltips. Like we can do this stuff kind of ourselves, like, is there a way we can do this ourselves, So,
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, it reminds me of something that like WebAwesome would have, you know, because it's this like it's starting to become the web component library that you point to. That's like they got everything and it's web component based. I don't know that they mess with charts though.
Probably not yet. I would imagine they're positioned well to offer charts, just because they are sort of the most funded dog in town. So
yeah, well, from people, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
They didn't take VC, I don't think. They just took a Patreon or whatever
thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome.
I gave them money. Why not?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they have like some what I think is cool is the components are something you can use, but what they kind of lock down are these patterns, like these app patterns, like a password screen, a data display screen, like that's kind of what they're selling. That's the value prop here. It's like you're actually selling the like you can do all these components, but if you want these sort of like pre-built, sort of like a Tailwind UI sort of things, like you pay. And I think that's like a model that's been kind of proven out by Tailwind UI, like, hey, if you're going to save me a whole layout, like I'll pay. So
they have a podcast awesome.
Well, it says cool. Charts are planned. It's on the roadmap.
Oh, that's nice.
Combo
Who works there anymore? Didn't they like pick up some people that are interesting over the? You didn't. Leah Veru worked there, but maybe not anymore.
Leah Veru worked there. I think she's peeled. Connor Rogers, big web component guy. Corey LaVisca, of course, web component guy. Zach Leatherman.
It was Zach.
Is
he still there?
I believe he's.
I think so. That's cool.
Yeah,
that's great. That's great. Corey's thing is interesting. He because we mentioned it on the show, he had quiet UI and then it like didn't do as well as he thought it would, and I don't know, I think he's just like screw it. He had a big time screw it moment. You go to quiet UI right now and it's just like quiet UI is no longer available to the public. I will continue to maintain it as my personal creative outlet, but I'm unable to release it to the world at this time. Thanks for understanding. I'm sorry for the inconvenience. So be it. It's his thing. He can do whatever he wants to it. It's interesting to see, like, was it I don't know. I hope you're doing all right, Corey. It's a bummer that you had to do that, but maybe it's not a bummer though. Maybe it's just a learning moment, and you actually protecting yourself in this way is like a strength, and it's not a bummer. And a bummer would have been you holding on to it and going through all the stress of it because you felt like you had to for some reason. So maybe it's not a bummer. I don't want to paint it in a particular way. But anyway, can't use that one anymore, at least for now.
Yeah, no, that's too bad because I was building something with it. Whoops.
Yeah. I did think it's weird, though, that he literally works at WebAwesome and then had this thing, too. Only from a customer perspective. So just like, hear me, I found that most people didn't think this is weird, and I think that's good or whatever, but I did. And then it's like, if I'm like going to pick a library, I'm just me, Chris Coyer, like I am going to build a new little product of some kind, and I want to use web components to do it. I would literally have to decide, am I going to use Quiet UI or am I going to use WebAwesome? I know there's lots of more options, but if I was thinking web components and thinking an open source library kind of thing, I'd be making that decision. And isn't that weird to work somewhere where the customers of the world are choosing between an employee's personal project or the company's paid product? That to me is just strange. It just is. And maybe that's just fine, but like, I don't know. It doesn't sound like that was involved with the shutting of it in any way.
Yeah, but I do wonder though, like if that was the case, like what does it help or hurt the web components ecosystem if like whole libraries just disappear? That's my hot drama here.
That would be hurt, I would think.
Right, like if it was like, hey, we're doing whatever. Facebook's like, here's React UI, and then a week later or something, it's like, no, never mind. I don't know. Like, and it's totally different because that's Facebook. But I just, I think that's my only thing about like, unfortunately it disappeared, it wasn't, but it does, it's based on this. It seems like he's making it a personal project again. So that's his prerogative, you did get the vibe in that previous post that like maintaining is not fun when it's unpaid, being beholden
Right.
to people.
Right.
So,
I get $0-ish dollars out of this because nobody's paying for it and the issues are flowing in,
Yeah.
So the fun is gone and there's not being subsidized by money. That I couldn't agree with more. I don't have the heart or the mind or the strength. I don't know what the right word is for it, but I couldn't do it. Yeah. I'm not built for open source. I will happy open source some little things over time, but I'm not built like Zach Leatherman, who can just make a big time open source project and just roll with that. It just takes a stronger person.
It's the management, man. That's the, like I've got tons of little doodads at open source, but I just don't have the energy to like make an npm package and manage it. Like I don't want to do that. A security update. No thanks. Like I don't want to do that. I'm tired, so that's kind of where I'm at. And so I was also, did you see that post the other day do you have other stuff to talk about? We could, anyway, I'm hijacking.
No.
Did you
hijack?
There's that post the other day and it was like, if vibe coding is real, where are all the vibe coded apps? Do you remember that post or like that sentiment sort of? And it kind of actually,
no, but I like it.
Which I thought, I think I agreed with that. I think, it was kind of like, here's the number of domains bought and it stops in about 2020 and, or like, it's like neither growing or whatever, like, or it's, you'd think if, the argument there was if vibe coding's like super real and people are just shitting out apps everywhere, like the number of domains would be skyrocketing, right? Anyway, I had the experience where I just like challenged myself to vibe code with Quiet UI. So
I heard. That's too
a little
bad.
harder
Sorry.
to do that without docs. I'm going to be real.
Yeah.
but like I was just kind of like messing around. Like my wife had an idea for this tennis app.
Okay.
I am now blocked officially by I had I had no fun, and then I finally rounded a corner to where it was kind of doing it, and I actually got some quality out of the machine, and like it was starting to work. I'm now blocked by like the USTA, US Tennis Association's like API. Like I applied and they haven't written back or anything. So if you work there, reach out to me. That'd be cool. I just kind of was like, so I can't finish the app until that exists. But it was just this sort of like, experience I was trying to go through. But one thing I sort of realized was,
I got one question quick, though, just so we set the stage. That you have this tennis app. Doesn't even matter what it does. You can explain it if you want.
Tennis stats. Well,
sure, but did you not even look at the code output? Did you just describe what you wanted and then it changes and then you're like, nope, not quite that, do this instead, and it was just prompting and you didn't even look at the code? Or did you look at the code a little bit, or did you look at the code like a lot?
I looked at the code medium, I'm gonna say, right?
Okay.
But then what happens inevitably, it gets tripped up. It can't do it. It gets stuck.
Yeah, it's stuck.
And and so it's just it's totally like
you felt like you had to look at the code because there's some show-stopping bug that probably you're able to.
Or it's like it's going on a task and it's just doing way too much. I feel like that's maybe the my experience. Like it does too much. Like I would just, it's like I set it all up, like use web components, use Quiet UI, write this thing, use HTML, CSS, and vanilla JavaScript, stuff like that.
Well, that was at the very beginning, though.
That was at the very beginning, and that was at the generate a PRD step, like the product requirements document, and I actually read through all of that, Chris. I made sure that it was like, this sounds like something I would put in a document, you know?
Okay. Yeah.
I would never write something this big.
Cool. That does seem to be where this is going a little bit, is that there's a lot of these new AI tools that really want to do that for you first. That kind of like, before we start ripping agents on code, that let's get the planning done first.
Yeah.
And I mean, did that. Okay.
Do people read it? Probably not. But I was actually pretty like specific. I knew what I wanted, right? I wanted the USTA API. I wanted to use Netlify functions because I want to pay $0 for this.
Okay.
I wanted to, that's my API, right? And or like that's what's going to run this API for the authenticated request, right?
Yep.
I wanted to do vanilla web components in a Vite multi-page app. Like that's, you know, like I don't want Astro, I don't want Eleventy, I don't want Nuxt, I don't want Next. I just want a normal Vite app that does this. And it like scaffolded that out. It made the pages. It made like an API for me entirely. Like it actually went very broad and built everything, but I think that is actually part of the problem. It now built something, it's like, God, that's a lot of code. And it's like, yeah, dude, you wrote that. Like, if it was Dave Rupert being a human, I would write one endpoint at a time, write the view. I'd write one other endpoint, I'd write the view, you know? Like, so I would know what's going on, you know? I think it built something so big, it doesn't know. And it might have totally invented API points. That's like I cannot find them in the API docs, but maybe it knows something I don't, you know? So that's another sort of a twist I think I'll encounter in the future. But I think it just gets twisted up. And then, you know, I was like, okay, cool. Like make what would you have on a player history, match history, right? For a player.
Sure.
And here's the endpoint, and so it would go get the endpoint, and then it would make this player history, and it would like do this, but it would like the way it wrote JavaScript was like player.set attribute, or you know, player.query selector title dot text content equals
it's like surgically replacing the DOM.
Yeah, it was just imperatively replacing the DOM. That is not how you write web components. You are declarative. You are basically like, here's a template, fill it, you know, dynamically, reactively. Like, that's what web components do. And so, you know, so I'm stuck, and it's just writing way too much code. The code's ugly. The CSS is ugly too. Like, it's not using Quiet UI at all. It's just making shit up. But, but I just, you know, I stepped back and I was like, hey, this is how I talk. Hey, you're being stupid. Bernard, you're not doing what I asked. Like, use web components. And I was like, specifically, I was like, use lit HTML or lit element to make your web components, and write that into the PRD. Like, put it into the product requirement document that is the context.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
And so, and it did that. And actually, that's kind of what unlocked it, you know. And then I did another one that was like, you know, always use Quiet UI elements whenever possible, you know. And then it like goes, okay, cool. So it started to understand what I was asking of it, you know, and it slowly it started getting better. But, you know, it did stuff like it used at import for all the style sheets. No, you know, like, don't do that, you know. But it like, you know, it reads CSS docs, it reads MDN or whatever. It's like, add import. That sounds great. That's exactly what I want to do, just like JavaScript. You know, it's like, no, dude, you're stupid. That's so stupid. You know, I was making little pages for each one, you know, and it was like at the top of the page, it was like add import, and then that add import would add import something else. Yeah. It's like, no.
I almost don't like
just
that
make
Vite
one
supports
CSS
that.
page.
I wonder if that's why it thought it's cool.
It probably would have compiled out, but I just was like, no, that's not what I'm doing, you know. And then I noticed, like, you know, it's like, put the font on the page. And it's like, cool, I did it, you know. And it's like, no, like all the pages, dude. Like, you know, like it just like doesn't, you know. It's like that.
So it was wrong a lot, you know. But can't you just like, if you were vibing instead of fighting, maybe you'd just be like, you'd be so chill about it, you know. You'd just take another hit off your joint and be like, oh no, man, I meant all the pages, and then it would just go do that. And
yeah,
then,
you know, programming's good when it's like substance abuse is required, you know. That's like, you know, that's like quality in employment. That's like when it's good, right? But no, it was more like just like I did learn to like I guess, and this is sort of like the learning element of it. Like it was just like I did learn to like be like, cool, it's going to get something wrong. I should not be stressed out about it. But then it's also just weird. It's like, I type, it goes away for 5 minutes and it comes back and it's like bad, and it's like, how many of these can I do? I might just need to put it down for the night, like close the laptop and go away. Which is
right. It's you
doesn't
trying to
feel
decide
good either.
Like, what could I have done it better in those same 5 minutes?
Well,
maybe, but
I know it would take me longer, but I know it would be in a state I like it or I think is good. I think like,
so maybe there's a combination there where you get started doing it the right way and then you kind of pass the reins off.
And then it knows how, yeah. Well, it's even after I said like use web components, like there's still a bunch of code that is like very imperative JavaScript. I know it's in there already, and I'm just like, anyway, I would say it was like a good vibe coding experience where previous sessions have been awful for me. But I think it was sort of like but it just had this, it's just this struggle. And then it's like, I have to come up with this word combo that, fixes it. And that's sort of hard to do, but
it's certainly a different skill set.
Yeah, like I have to imagine what it thought I meant and what it thought I got wrong, but there is something to be said, like make it do one thing, like replace the CSS dot green with dot emerald or whatever, and it's like, oh yeah, I can do that, but then you're like, that's just a find and replace. Like, what did I burnt some GPUs for that? Like that was stupid. That was stupid.
Right. Maybe that's, again, that's a moment where you're like, no, I should have been able to do that myself with a different tool better, because or there's becomes maybe this is ignorant, but like an MCP for find and replace in your editor so that it can use the find and replace tool. That one's stuck in my head. I'm sure I was listening to a changelog or something like that. They had some guy on that was like, people like to make fun at a model for being like, what's 5 + 6 and it gets it wrong
Blueberry.
Or something.
Yeah.
Which is funny to point at, but it's like, it's never going to be good at that. Just like a screwdriver isn't good at hammering in a nail or whatever. People just need to learn what these things are good at and what they're not. And in a couple of years, you'll just know what they're good at and what they're not. And math is never going to be one of those things. And I think MCP unlocks that a little bit in the things is like, the make a freaking calculator MVP. So when you ask it what's 5 + 6, it knows to go use the calculator tool, which is amazing at doing math, and then it gets the answer. So like you give it the tools that it needs to do these things. I do feel like an AI apologist sometimes on the show, because I am still pissed about some of the things it does bad, but I do think like it bears a little thought of, and it's encouraging to me that you had like a half decent experience at it. Like there's plenty of frustrations, but like,
yeah,
I don't know, to have somebody not see any value in it seems crazy to me too. Like clearly it's pretty good at this coding thing.
Yeah, I was so mad the first day. I was ready to burn it down. So I need to like go through the chats and find out what turned the corner, so I know that, because I think what I'm learning, and this, can I give like my general
well, I do want to know though, so for a little bit more context, what was it? Claude Code at the CLI? Was it Cursor? Was it
Copilot?
What am I
using? It was Copilot in VS Code. VS Code. Did I use Claude Code for the PRD? I think I just used only Copilot at this point.
Just only Copilot. Okay. Now, what are the final takeaways here?
Well, so I think the takeaways are, when it's not doing React, and I would actually maybe when it does React, because people like to say React's declarative, but I'm going to disagree. But I think like it is always going to write the most code. Does that make sense? Like it will. it just invents things. Like I had it make this little app the other day, and it just like started adding UI that I'd never asked for, you know, because it's just, and I think like what and maybe this is point two, but like I think like it's important to understand these things are like statistical models. Like statistically, this is the word that comes up next, or like statistically, this looks like a coded web page that has these things that I was told to put on it, right? Sorry, got a cough. Statistically, but I don't. They are not like analytical, or they are not like accurate whatsoever. And I think that's part of the problem that folks like me and who have, and a lot of CSS people who have built a whole career on accuracy. Oh no, did my camera go off? Did my
Sounded like you were gonna mute it to cough, but instead of muting it, you turned off your video.
Cool, dude. I got a cool setup over here. My life is cut my life into pieces. All right. Where did I start? Where do I stop? Oh well.
Your life, you built your CSS life on accuracy.
Okay. Yeah,
you know?
like you built your CSS life on good design, on accuracy, on like producing something pixel perfect, right? And then you're being asked to use machines, or maybe you're exploring and trying to use these machines that are not accurate. So it's like at odds with what you do and how you work and how you made your money and how, you know, like your identity and things, all this stuff. And like, I think that's huge to acknowledge. I think like we need to probably have that conversation more. I do think there are.
Yeah, because whatever you're good at, you're the most critical of. I think this is a fascinating one. Maybe I brought it up before, but it's kind of like you read, let's say you read the newspaper every day. 95% of the articles you read, maybe you like this newspaper, you know, and you think it does a pretty good job generally, and you read all these articles and you're like, yeah, that was a pretty good article. I feel more informed now. But 5% of the articles are about something you know about. If you know about it and you read a newspaper article, chances are you're like, what dope wrote this?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Or like every time we talk about accessibility, it's like, those idiots.
So when you don't know about something and you read about it, you know, you get this like, yeah, that looks good. Like if it generates, I don't know, some Nginx config for me, I'll be like, hell yeah, machine, good job, looks fine. Yeah. But then it does CSS for me and I'm like, what? I think that's the same type of thing. The less you know, the more satisfied you are with the output, and that's a little scary.
Yeah. I you know, we actually had a little work training. This is where like all this is coming. Like I'm being asked to use AI in my work, and so I had like a little work training thing. Where it was like doing research with AI, which I'm like, alarm bells, ramp. But this person, their job title has researcher in the name, you know? Okay. So they're like, well, and I think they said something to the effect, like, if you actually know about it, you're going to have a hard time, you know? But I think their point was, you can use these machines like prompt and, you know, like, there's kind of some like power prompts kind of thing that, you know, that kind of get you to a, you know, like this will get you a good one, you know, like kind of fishing, right? This is a good fishing spot. And you can get details on something and make sure it like does the deep thinking and like give you a report or whatever. The report I asked was like for like, what would it be to like establish a human colony on Ganymede, the moon of Jupiter, you know?
Okay.
Like something I don't know about, Chris. I don't know enough about, but I'm curious. What would it be like, you know? Like, and I could
they'd be like, bring water, you know?
Be like, well, okay. You don't need to bring water, Chris, because the planet, the moon is made of ice. There are ice under there, and it's protected by the radiation of the from the
bring
Jupiter.
A torch then.
Yeah, you need light. You need oxygen. But it's But anyway, it's like this, like, oh, I'd love to like know more about it, you know, or like what would I, from a scientific perspective. And so Am I a scientist? No, Chris. Am I an expert on Ganymede human colonization? No, Chris, I'm not. But like, do I know a little bit more that's maybe a little more science based than I was probably going to get through like 400 Wikipedia articles? Probably, you know. Or like I'm more caught up on the conversation and the ideas than I maybe was going to be before. So, but that can be dangerous, you know. I don't know. You're like,
so you're saying that the research it did could be good because it's willing to read more than you practically can in a period of time?
yeah, I mean, it already has indexed it all, you know, indexed the whole damn internet. But I think it's also good at like boiling down, like summarizing, you know, where like
truly, it's
I
great
have to build up the knowledge and then summarize it, you know. So, but again, like if my job was on the line and I had to really actually know about Ganymede. I don't know anything about Ganymede, Chris. I didn't read those reports. Or like, you know, none of the facts sunk in because I didn't have to do the learning process, like the hard work of actually learning it, you know? So
that's a lot. Because guaranteed, if you did read those, let's say there's 400 sources, I think there's an absolutely 100% chance that you would have just a great set of knowledge about Ganymede, and that you'd have formed your own thoughts, and you'd be able to talk about it intelligently, and you'd just be a damn expert on it if you slowly read through it and digested all that stuff. And AI just ripping through it and providing summaries is garbage compared to that. But it's so fast. And that can you combine those two things? Can you have it give you a reading list or something that prioritizes perhaps what it thinks the best ones are, or something like, is there a middle ground in which that it's not just one or the other, that it can augment your own learning somehow, perhaps?
Yeah, what can Bernard guide me on a path versus...
Right, and you know, they have to build these tools for absolutely everybody. And that you don't like that it wrote too much code, for example. I know I'm just shifting subjects a little bit here, but you can teach it then, maybe, you know, if there's like cursor rules and GitHub rules and your little planning thing, prompt, you can be like, I don't like it when you do too much. I want, when you propose changes, I want you to propose minimalist changes. Always, because that's just what I like. Do not do anything that I didn't very specifically ask you to do. Now you've trained this thing to be more like what you like, whereas you can't ask Copilot to do that, or the Copilot's never going to ship that generally, because maybe they found that generally their customers like it when they do more stuff. You don't, but you know, they have to ship a generalist product and then give you tools to refine it. And we're just so early in this that it doesn't know. There's no freaking wizard to set it up yet or whatever.
Yeah. There's other things it does great. Like if you're like, I want to change this function to have whatever 5 values you can pass to it or something like that, or take an option instead of like 4 values, you know? It's like really good at being like, cool, let me do that. And then actually I'm going to go find all the places you called this and fix those spots too. Like where that's like, to me, like tedium, like, oh crap, I forgot I called this function 10 files over. And you know, like, so now I got to go rewrite that function. Like it seems okay at that sort of type driven development, I guess you'd say, like, okay, I need to make this type work, you know? But again, it's like kind of just like almost looking for like what's statistically accurate for what this would need to be, you know, or like does this look correct, you know, rather than like, is it correct, you know? So yeah.
I don't know how I got on this. I think I read somebody that I'm going to do a topic change. Boop. Ready? Okay.
Yeah.
Flush. Cursors on the web, right? So we're limiting ourselves to desktop computers with people that use mice with them or a trackpad or something. So you got your little cursor. We'll see how that goes with our own children. I know Ruby certainly doesn't prefer it, but you know, do you as you get older though, do you like, yeah, how's your kids on using a mouse?
Oh, Otis is a gamer, so Otis has all that.
He's moused up, yeah.
Moused up. He's got a drawing tablet too. He's got he's running his iPad while he plays video games. That's bad. He's probably got ADHD. My daughter is more, our daughter's about the same age, but she's very much iPad, but she also is getting into computers, which is Otis was about the same age,
yeah.
you know, like kind of like, I want to play on this one, mom's computer, you know?
Yeah.
Like I want to go to target.com and you know, like,
sure.
Click around, you know? And so I think
the mouse cursor is going to hold on then, you know, generationally.
And she's been asking for a PC too, so, you know, or like something to play video games on. So, you know, it's kind of
so
like...
she's certainly not afraid of a mouse. You know,
no, I think that she understands the input method, yeah.
Cool. And then so you get, you know, it hasn't seen like massive innovation over the years, but here and there, you know, so on my Mac here, I have a little black mouse cursor. It's got a little white outline around it, and it just does what it needs to do. You know, that's fine. I remember that if you can't find it on your screen on Mac OS, you can wiggle it. That's innovation. I'm down for that. But CSS provides a whole bunch of cursors. You know this, old school CSS stuff. If you are over a text area or something, your cursor turns into a little vertical bar kind of thing for text editing. You got cursor equals pointer, which I don't think the world has resolved when you should definitely use it or not. Are you a button cursor pointer guy?
I think I am, man. I don't
know.
You
are?
I just, yeah. I just think
I'm not against it. I just think it's interesting that it's not the default. So it's like the web is a little 50-50 on it.
And I'll give you a little bit of a tip too. Like if your contrast isn't that great, that can also be a
it's a little helper,
a little accessibility bonus boost. That something changed, you know, not just color, you know.
Yeah. So that when you do cursor pointer, it turns into the little hand, little this guy. You know, rock and roll. Yeah. I don't mind it. I don't have that strong of opinion.
You know
on
what
it.
This is? It's the shape of Texas.
There you go. This is Wisconsin here. This one.
Oh, the mitten. Yeah, there he is. Yeah.
God, what do they do? Does Oklahoma have one?
Florida. We're not going to talk about Florida. We're not talking about Florida. Okay. Next.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
A little Idaho. It was fun.
Yeah.
Okay. CSS has got, you know, all 30 more approximately. You know, there's like there's the whole tribe of resizing ones.
Yeah.
That are different directions and all this stuff. But I was looking at, so I was reading some designer post about the interesting ones that Figma does. Because sometimes it's a little bit, and Eric Bailey has a post. It's like, just don't do custom cursors. There's a million reasons not to do it for accessibility reasons, unless they're the ones that CSS just gives you. And because of there's like OS level things that increase the size of cursors and things like that, and those will come along for the ride, the CSS ones. But a custom one that you load as a URL to an image is not going to do that. You know, I would generally trust his advice on that, but there's always nuance to the world. And, you know, if you have a little kid's website that changes into a big giant Mickey Mouse hand, I'm not going to like be mad about it. It can be cute, you know?
Right.
But Figma, there's different things to cursors. There's like maybe it's so important that you're thinking about the XY coordinate in a situation that it draws a big line all the way up to the top of the screen and a big diagonal all the way across the screen that follows your mouse around under very niche circumstances, because you're heavily thinking about the XY coordinate of where you're about to click or do an interaction. That's interesting. And I think that's somewhere in Figma that happens once in a while. Or you're dragging out a ruler and you can kind of see the result of the ruler vertically or whatever. Interesting stuff. And it bears consideration. Like, is there interesting territory to explore with cursors above and beyond not just what cursor you change it into, but what happens underneath the cursor, and like if you had a WebGL canvas covering the screen that you could do anything with, not necessarily changing the cursor, but I'm sure you've seen it where they don't change the cursor, but there's a rainbow trail behind the cursor or something, things like that.
Rach Smith's site is.
Oh yeah, she shoots sparks on. Yeah,
it's
lovely.
rainbows. Yeah.
That's cool that you can do something cool with the cursor, but not actually change the cursor itself.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just looked in our CodePen code base to be like, how many times do we change the cursor? There's a lot of cursor pointer stuff, which is fine, but we use a couple interesting ones that I didn't write that I think are neat. All of our copy buttons. So like if this was a web component and your web component was a copy button, like copy like the clipboard, it uses cursor copy. And I was so into it. I was like, this is nice. It leaves the cursor the way it is, but it puts a little green plus in it. Like that's the symbol for copy, apparently. I'm like, classy. I like it,
Okay.
Yeah. And then there's a disabled cursor, which happens all the time. Like the attribute disabled, I think is interesting. Where generally the CSS that gets applied is like lower the opacity of it, make it look like it's not clickable, because and the disabled attribute literally makes it not clickable and stuff. Like you were saying with cursor pointer, that's a little hint, a little accessibility boost that you can click on it. This thing puts a little X-y thing on the cursor, which is a little bit of boost that reminds you can't click it.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I think it's kind of neat.
Could be useful more.
So I found like a little place on CodePen where I was like, man, I think I can see like 5 cursors in this tiny little area that we use that all have kind of value. One of them is like, there's like horizontal resizers. Like you grab a bar and you're dragging something to the left and right. It's one thing to put the horizontal resizer on there, but then if you click and you're holding it down, which you can know in CSS via the active or whatever class.
Yeah.
There's one that's like a hand, but it's grabbing. So you're at the bar and you're moving it left and right. But if you've clicked and you're dragging, it goes into the like, I've got this cursor.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
I think it's so classy. It's just cool, like who's doing that on their web apps? Who remembered to put you're currently grabbing and dragging something cursor?
Right? Yeah.
It's just nice. That's the value. That's what you get out of listening to Shop Talk Show people.
You've got niche UI solves right here. You just improved your little affordances, we call them. Is that what they are? That would be a good
ain't no AI gonna do that for you.
Book. Like affordances.css, and it's like or all the affordances like browsers and everything provide, like a scroll bar is an affordance that the page goes far down or the div overflows, Yeah,
it's incredible. And
cursor and affordance,
I think about this too much. I don't know. My brain was soiled with it at one time, but it's if you had a time machine and you went and got like a random peasant or a knight or something from the medieval ages and you brought them here and you started showing them stuff, what would they think about it? I think about it in terms of like driving a car. I think they would lose their mind. You'd be like, you're like 2 feet away from a speeding giant piece of metal. Like you're definitely going to die. Like, get me out of this car immediately, Yeah.
Basically a metal house that goes 60 miles an hour, like 10 times faster than any horse has ever
But that's
gone.
the thing with affordances is they're supposed to work on anybody, or like they're supposed to be just generally informative. And I'd like to think that, looking at a screen would be weird enough for a medieval peasant, but then they would understand what a scroll bar is right away because it's indicative of how much content is there. Like maybe not in the first 10 seconds of arriving in the year 2025, but I think they would get it pretty quickly. They'd probably be able to operate your stove and a tea kettle and all these things, the classic Don Norman things that was his point, is that you don't have to think about it too hard. It's just the object itself explains what it does. And a grabbing cursor is like that.
Yeah.
You're grabbing down.
Yeah. I did this is details, summary. The little carrot, right? That's affordance. It looks like shit. How do we... So I was doing this morning. I was like, made a details element on my blog. And I was like, how do I, what Unicode character
This
could
is
I
a great
use
one.
to like be for marker that isn't the chunky black triangle, but that still gives the idea, you know?
Yeah, it needs to evoke. I'm closed right now.
Right.
How do you say that?
And I went with the like carriage return, you know, like, hey, you could like open this, you know. I'm looking at it now and I think that's not correct. And so I'm like, what you know, you could do the finger pointing, the like old like 1800s finger pointing. But like that doesn't tell you like click this. There's more here.
I think almost like the chevron era was better. I think maybe you're like I don't hate the triangle, but I hate the look of the chunky black triangle. But just a line, just a you know.
Yeah.
I think that's the way to go.
The chevron is the way to go. That's enough of an affordance.
I think so. Unless you disagree. I mean, whatever. But it's got to evoke closure somehow. And I don't know what that is. You know, I was thinking about this same thing in a blog post recently about, I called it the 2-button problem, because I was trying to log into Paramount, and there's log in and sign up. And they're just arbitrarily styled differently depending on which one is selected, but you don't know which one is selected. They're just different.
Oh,
this happens all the time.
Guys.
I was just looking at web. Yeah, but everybody has this problem. Like, go look at the Web Awesome 2-button toggle thing, and it's like, I don't know, they just went with like orange kind of, but like, is orange the selected one or the not selected one? You don't really know, you know. So I think that it's just one of these, you know, when you have a mouse, it's not a big deal, because you put your mouse on it and you click, and then you know which one you're clicking. But on an Apple TV, which is what I was on, you don't know. There is no mouse. I don't know which one I'm clicking because I don't know which one is active. So it's one of these moments where like you need an affordance. And maybe that affordance should be a big ass Mickey Mouse hand pointing at it or some shit, or like it, or both button styles should be the same, and one of them has a big circle around it. You know, like it's our job as designers to like provide an affordance that's like just immediately obvious. And I don't know about what is a visual affordance that immediately evokes being closed, you know? Like a drawer or something, but
drawers. I don't know. I thought about going through Unicode and like trying to find candidates, and maybe I'll still write this post. I got time. I got days, and I got energy right now. But like, could I like find potential candidates for a drop down, and then like, you know, and then argue why it works and why it doesn't, you know?
I don't know,
because you can't like, you can pull in a whole custom icon and glyph and crap like that. Like, okay, sure, but I still like, you know, a chevron.
Is there an existing one?
Is that enough? You know, like
you might consult like ASCII more than Unicode or whatever I'm trying to say. Like, don't go down to emojis.
No, emojis are too camp. We're talking like old like, whatever,
the black and white
mathematical symbols range.
Right. Maybe plus. Is plus good?
Yeah, well, I was looking at how actually
plus and minus.
I was looking at Web Awesome, and they have a plus one, you know.
Okay.
They have a plus one in a box, and it turns into a minus in a box.
I don't hate it, but it's also plus. You could immediately think is like, I'm adding this. I'm gonna like add it to my cart or something.
Yeah, they have chevron inline start and inline end. Okay.
Oh,
so inline end is pretty good, but I also wonder, you know, does it need a border? I almost think border is the call out here. That this is separate from the rest of the content. This is not a normal paragraph. So like, click in, you know. So I don't know.
Are you willing to? Are you like going to throw away? Because designers sometimes are willing to use a symbol that is like learnable rather than immediately an affordance. Like in our lifetime, we've seen, you know, the great rise of the hamburger.
Sundial means color scheme. You know,
sure. Sparkles mean AI now, apparently.
Sparkles is AI. I will say, copy, which Web Awesome has a good copy button element, but like the little like paper with the paper behind
Another paper.
I think that's
nice.
good.
That's
I think
what we
that's
do
like
on
a
CodePen
pretty
too.
good affordance.
Ours has a little plus on it though too.
Yeah. Paste a little clipboard thing. Boo.
Right.
We
I
don't
like share with
clipboard.
the square with the arrow pointing up. Don't hate that. For share.
Share. Yeah, it's niche, but
But those are not
sort
affordances.
of...
I think if Don Norman was here, he'd be like, "That's not an affordance. It's what it is through sheer designers forcing it down your throat."
Yeah, I guess some of these we do, right? Like copy button, and yeah, it's pure like...
We all decided that's what copy is, so that's what we get. Although, I don't know, because copy is 2 pages, like a copier. I don't know. It's a little better. But hamburger don't mean nothing. So...
Yeah, the little information eye in a circle, like a...
Tooltip?
For tooltipy kind of information. That's sort of an interesting... But that's
it
also
is not
real
an
world,
affordance.
right? That's like...
Is it?
Yeah. In real world, though, it's used on signage, you know? It's like...
Oh.
You know? I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's not an affordance. You're thinking more like this is a physical...
Like a freaking door handle, you know? Like,
so
you
like
just
the little
know.
resize, the little... They're awful, but the little resizers in text areas, does that include affordance? That's an affordance? It tells you something can happen.
Maybe
right?
because it's evoking texture. Like, like you could grab it with your fingers, kind of, and it's giving you a little resistance right there, or grippiness. So it's a little closer to
in the middle of a video, affordance, right? Because it's saying you can't. This does something, but you can't see it, or you don't.
No, because I think the play button itself just comes from like VHS days. They just picked one and they went with a triangle. It doesn't. But I don't know. Like I'm just I'm just spitballing here. But
you're my... I don't know Don Norman. He's not going to come on the podcast. So you're my Don Norman. I'm trying to... but is a modal. A modal.
But does an affordance mean it's automatically better? Because I don't know. A play button, nobody's going to be confused. You're not going to. Nobody will defile. A play button is locked in at this point. I don't think it's an affordance, but it's like become an affordance.
Okay.
Because it's so locked in. Like that just is what a play button is.
Yeah, that's probably hamburger too, right? Like these are sort of these affordances conventions. Maybe they're conventions, not affordances.
Oh, perhaps, yeah. Oh, there you go. That could be a fair distinction. So we don't have to co-opt the word affordance. Can just let it be.
Yeah. Like calendar button. That's sort of like a convention, probably, to be like, this is for selecting a date.
Maybe, but that calendars have existed forever, and it looks like a little freaking calendar. So maybe that one is an affordance.
All right. Dialogue it blocks you from doing the next thing. It's grabbing your attention. It's saying pay attention to this. Affordance.
Is there just dialogue the entire experience of the dialogue?
Email, newsletter, sign up.
I don't know.
I picked
too
the
hard.
worst one.
Well, it's kind of like somebody coming up to you on the street and be like, "Do you believe in Jesus?" They're like a in real life dialogue.
Pop up.
Yeah.
Hey, X. Where?
Yeah.
I can't find the X.
I can't find the X.
Dude, $100 if you do that to somebody in real life. Like they just start talking to you and you're like,
escape key.
Hey, sorry, I can't find the X. Where is it? What do I do?
That's really good.
Shoot. I don't know, man. Anyway, it's just interesting. It's like obviously these have real like accessibility issues and stuff like that. Maybe we talk to somebody who does accessibility here, but like it's just kind of this interesting, like, what are we, I don't know, like what can we change about UI and what can we not do, and what do we get out of the box? That's just interesting to me, like,
definitely. All right.
Wrapping
we
it
went
up
over. It's all right,
here.
everybody.
Thank y'all for downloading this in that podcatcher. Up, Chris. You?
Oh no,
I'm breaking down.
what's the emoji for that? shoptalkshow.com. See you next time, everybody. You're the best.